Hello, hobby friends, and welcome to another episode of Hobby News Live. I'm your host, David Baez. In today's live episode, we are going to dive into the world of the junk wax era. That's right, we are going to talk about our mass-produced treasures of the hobby that likely inspired many folks watching tonight to collect current day. So everything from 86, 87 on up until the modern era is fair game tonight. Have your questions ready. You know how this works, guys. We have a panel discussion. It's all about you guys. So bring the questions in and we will do our best to answer them and have a really, hopefully good discussion on what is the junk wax era. So we'll talk about legends like Maddox and Griffey and Jeter, and not so legends like Greg Jeffries, Kevin Moss, and Todd Van Poppel. So like I said, get your questions ready. Let's have some fun. Before I introduce our guests, guys, just a couple of quick updates for you. First and foremost, guys, as always, I'll ask like and subscribe, please, on the YouTube channel. Really appreciate the support. Just helps to grow the hobby networking group. So thank you for that. Also, just a reminder, guys, that I do have this show available on podcast, not the live, but every Hobby Talk episode I do, our pre-recorded interviews, are available on podcasts. So I'm available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. All you have to do is search Hobby Network Group and you'll see the logo come right up. And again, appreciate the support there if you can like and subscribe there as well. Also, just a quick update that the next episode, live episode, is going to be scheduled for 2 weeks from now, where we'll do an episode of Hobby Talk Live. Guests will be named later. And lastly, the Facebook group, Hobby Networking Group Facebook group. That's usually where I put all the updates on who's going to be on the show and what's going on. So feel free to just search Hobby Networking Group and send your invitation and join the madness. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to bring our panel on. Just bear with me a second here, and I'll do some formal introductions. And there we go. All right, so first off, our first guest is a returning Hobby Talk guest and junk wax era aficionado, I like to say. Please welcome Aarron Minson to Hobby News Live. All right. And second, our next guest is a first-time member of the Hobby Talk Madness. He's a veteran collector and has provided great insight on many hobby topics on his own channel on YouTube, which you can check out. It's called Brandon's Baseball Cards. Please welcome Brandon Stewart to Hobby News Live. All right, guys, welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah. I have to do the fake applause at some point, Aarron. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do like the
sound effects already.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna do the flashing light and then do the studio audience fake laughter and applauses. No, but guys, on a serious note, thank you so much for joining. And just a reminder to the group out there that that's watching, start bringing your questions into the comments field. And just like I did right now, I will share your comments with the group. So just to kind of break the ice a little bit, of course, I have some questions I wanted to ask, and I'll start off with our new guest here, Brandon. So this is more of a general question, Brandon. What range do you consider to be the junk wax era if you had to pick like a year-to-year range?
I think it's really hard now. I actually don't think a range is suitable. I think that we have junk wax products, but I don't think there's a junk wax era. Like, so for example, you could make the case now that 86 Topps baseball is not junk wax anymore. Given the price. 87 Fleer, 87 Donruss. Is 88 Donruss junk wax? Yeah.
There's a unanimous vote there.
Let's all just agree. General consensus: 88 Donruss junk wax, right? 89 Fleer. I mean, my goodness, look at the prices. So, I'd like to say it was nice and clean, 86 and later, but I think it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. How about you, Aarron? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think like Brandon said, we can collectively refer to an era as junk, but they're redeeming releases as well as, just stuff that didn't withstand the test of time. But that having said that, the correct answer is 1984 through 1997. Just kidding. Just kidding. That is my assessment, though.
I love it. But it's there's an element of truth to that answer though, Aaron, because at some point, if you were to ask even me, like, I don't know, let's call it 5 years ago, right? What would I consider the junk wax era? I probably would have started my gauge at 84. And now you ask me that question, like Brandon was well, stating a minute ago. I don't think I could start. I would have started 86, but now I think maybe 88 is the starting point. And I think it's not just about population anymore. I think it's about the element of the hobby that you can't overlook, which is right the prices and the premiums. That puts I think a change right on where the gauge is when it comes to junk wax, but. Neither here nor there. I think we'll see what the crowd has to say on that one. But moving on to the next question, and Aaron, I'll start with you, is what year, issue, or product would you say transitioned junk wax, or the junk era into what we would call now modern, if you had to pick?
One of them I would say would be like 1998 Bowman.
Okay.
You have those kind of quintessential 90s era players, but then you have like the card styles, you have the chrome, you have the prospects and stuff that started popping up in the late 90s, and that's something that has carried through until today with the Bowman chrome and the prospects, and people trying to get ahead of who the up and comers are and stuff like that. So that's kind of my immediate go-to for that.
And what's your take on that, Brandon?
That's a good point about the chrome. I would almost say 1992 Bowman.
92, all right.
The buzz around the Rivera rookie, and the price of the 10s on that. That would just be, I don't know, but that's a tough question. Again, I don't know anymore. That's
the beauty of this, right? Because there isn't exactly a solidified answer. It's more like your take on it. Like I had this conversation just on one of my previous episodes, and the answer there was, and it's a pretty fair answer. I didn't think of this, is and it was with Tom, as a matter of fact. He said 93 Topps Finest was the introduction to the refractor. And that kind of brought things into the world of modern with these variations, if you will, that became kind of mainstream. And I never thought of that. That's a very good answer. I would have clicked more along the lines of Aaron. Actually, I would have picked late 80s product, but you mentioning 92 Bowman, that's a good answer. And so is his with the Finest. I just it never clicked until we had the discussion.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I think Tom's answer was pretty well in line with mine as far as the chrome and that kind of innovative, but he happened to fall on a more precise answer than mine.
Yeah.
And got ahead of me there a little bit with early to mid 90s.
Yeah. Hey, let's use the first comment of the day from Minson here. Did you see that? Oh, that's funny.
Mars Attacks.
Yeah, I wonder who that is. Oh, guys, keep the comments.
Ken. Ken is dropping the hammer currently.
Is he? All right, good deal. So I see some comments coming in. I'm looking for questions, guys. Like I said, anything you guys have is fair game in terms of junk wax era conversation. So I'll ask you, Brandon, this next question. What would you consider to be the most undervalued product right now in the perceived junk wax era?
Well, up until a few months ago, I would have said 87 O-Peachy. And now I think the market has corrected that.
Rather quickly, too.
Yeah, rather very overnight.
Yeah.
But then even switching to basketball, for a long time, even though it's obviously mass-produced, 89 hoops for a long time, it was a mystery to me. Why you could get a graded Jordan pack with Jordan on top of 89 hoops for $35, and now that has been corrected. So It's hard to say now. I guess the best answer is I don't know. That's what I should have just said, like, to start. I don't know any of the answers to any of these questions.
You know, this episode will be harder than ever because if I would have done this 2 months ago, I think all three of us would have like more defined answers. But God, what I know from 2 days ago might have changed while preparing for this episode.
I can tell you what I think is overvalued. I think that's but
I have that question pegged up in a second here. But Aarron, give me your take. What do you think is undervalued right now in the junk wax era?
Is there any junk wax that's undervalued right now?
Ooh, look at that. I love the answer.
No.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, I would probably just adjust my answer to include stuff that might be underappreciated. And it's pretty close to what Brandon was saying, like OPC in general, especially relative to its tops counterpart, with all the condition issues that are inherent in that product, as we know. But in particular, maybe 86 OPC.
Yeah.
You have the black borders that are just as tough as its tops counterpart, and then you've just got dreadfully worse centering issues in comparison to tops.
Well, the QC department over in Canada wasn't really, especially the night crew, apparently wasn't really into their job because God, it is really hard to find some specific cards are almost impossible to find centered.
Also underappreciated top stickers.
That was my
83 through 87, I would say.
You stole my thunder. That was my answer. I know it's not junk wax because 83, but I think I'll go a little broader than that. I'll say the sticker issues, but also some of these oddball issues. Like, man, my answer is getting too broad now. But I was even thinking, for instance, let me give you a good example. UK Series 88 Tiffany. That's. I mean, you could still get that sealed box for a couple bucks. That stuff's not, that's a pretty specific issue. And there's some pretty cool cards in that set. They're kind of a mini variation. It's 88. It's a limited production. But how many people have you heard talk about 88 UK Tiffany? Not many, right? So there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of undervalued stuff still out there. We can dive into the weeds in a bit, but I like both of your answers, by the way, on that. The stickers are definitely high on my list and undervalued.
Sure. Yeah,
it's really tough to get those things centered up, and populations are low across the board.
Yeah. So Kurt's chiming, or Aarron, I'm not sure which one. I want to know what everyone's favorite.
Sneaky, maybe?
I know. So Brandon, what's your favorite junk wax box? Let's start answering some comment questions here.
Yeah, my favorite junk wax. I'd have to go with 87 Fleer baseball.
87 Fleer. All right. Yeah. I mean, that set's loaded. That's a great set.
Just the blue, the light blue design, just everything about 87 Fleer, the Bonds rookie, just that whole set. And that was right when, like before I even discovered baseball cards, but growing up, that was one of the first sets I really got into. And so 87 Fleer would be it for me.
Cool. How about you, Aarron? And remember, it doesn't have to be just baseball on this, by the way. I know we're heavily skewed on baseball, but if you think there's if you have a favorite in another sport, or even if it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Alf.
I would go immediately 87 tops, for the same reasons Brandon said, except for, with the striking wood grain and just a quintessential junk era set. And, the box is unmistakable and brings back a lot of memories. And it's still something I love, going through today.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we were talking offline just a little bit, and I'm not sure whether to call it junk wax anymore, but 87 Donruss is near and dear to my heart. And because of that's what started me off in the hobby. So add in the fact that to me, the Fleer product, it's probably the 87 series that are just loaded to the gills with rookies. It was just fun. It was just fun to open. It still is, I open Donruss all the time. And and your chance of landing a great player's first year, second year card is pretty high. So it's always a fun rip. Let's see what else we got here. Late to convo, but my question to you guys is, why is 90 score baseball the best junk wax, Josh Green? Well, we're friends with, I've interviewed him a few times. Scott Levy did some photos on some of those score baseball cards. So I think the Canseco and a couple of other key players, he did the photos for those. But
I think we can open up another square and let Josh chime in and elaborate more fully on.
Yeah. So yeah, in the world of hockey, 90-91 UD, no question. I think it's kind of past the junk now. I mean, that said, I'm not a big hockey guy, but maybe you guys can chime in more on this. That's like a similar to what I was just talking about, 87 Donruss. I mean, isn't that set loaded with rookies? I know it's Yager is definitely a big one, but there's probably five solid rookies in that set.
Brandon?
I'm not a hockey guy. So.
He's like,
that was my way of saying I'm not a hockey guy either. So
I know what I'm talking about, but it'll become very evident that
Brandon, you should have pointed to your names. Like, my channel's called Brandon's Baseball Cards.
Brandon's Baseball Cards. Does it say hockey? Does it say hockey?
Oh, too funny. All right, so let's see what else we got here. All right, when can we start fighting people who call it junk? Oh, great question, Josh. Yeah.
It depends on your tone. If it's a shitty tone when you say junk, then them's fighting words. But if you say it affectionately, then all good.
There you go. Oh, man. All right. So got a lot of comments going in here, guys. Keep them coming. I will I see some questions. Just bear with me here. Just 20, Rick. All right. These aim sets are all in it. Yeah, Matt brings up a good point. I do have some in my closet, if you will. Kmart, KB, right? Toys R Us, some of these other issues. There can't be that many still out there of that stuff. I haven't done my due diligence, but those are some solid sets, and you could still get them. I'm sure if you do find them, they're not. I can't imagine they're a premium yet. Do you guys collect any of those off-series baseball or no?
No, I can't say I do.
No,
go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, sure. I was just going to say that they are great sets, and I like them, but I think they just don't carry the same kind of mystery that typical packs do, or even vending and other options. You know what you're getting, and aside from if you're chasing high grade or whatever, it's pretty predictable what you're going to get inside that box. So that might take a little bit of the panache out of it, I guess.
That's a very excellent point. Yeah, because those are legit sets and those small playing card boxes. So you already know what's in there, as opposed to opening up a wax pack and going through the fun and the mystery, of what you're going to get. So that's good insight. Do you, Brandon, at all collect?
Well, some of I will say I appreciate the design, especially on the Toys R Us sets.
Yeah.
Some of those sets, the photography on those is awesome. Some of the early Bonds cards, some of the early Bo Jackson cards, they're probably undervalued, especially compared to stuff like 1990 Score. Not to knock Josh's question here, but compared to that, I do think, you can get a nice second year Bonds for 50 cents compared to, in a very decent condition. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Nice and glossy too, at a time when that wasn't really being played around with a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, very, very glossy. Yeah.
So let's see. I can open my first baseball card 87 times till the day I die and not go broke. I think that is a positive thing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think one of the big things, guys, when you talk about junk wax era, right, and whatever products remain, let's say from the junk wax era that haven't been hit by this recent surge. I think one of the things for the true collectors got the chance to see a lot of these players play, right, is, it's just fun to be able to kind of relive your youth, but not break the bank either. It's opening up a 78 top set and getting, pack, and opening up the whole pack and getting a flurry of commons. Well, it might have been fun, and depending on how much disposable income, it might or might not have hurt. But at the end of the day, you just probably opened up about a $200 pack. So conversely, I opened up my 88 Donruss pack with my kids, and it just hurt me to the tune of $1, you know, so give or take. I don't know what the current value is these days. Searching for Alomars.
The current market, that'll run you about $750. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a few to sell me?
I can sell you a box of 88 Donruss for really great price. $100. Cheers.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
It is pretty crazy that despite how insane everything has been, like 1987 Topps wax boxes have still been pretty accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
you can still get one for $25 locally, or you know, maybe 40 shipped, or even better on a lot of 2 or 3 of them. And you know, you kind of are reminded of the good old days from a few months ago.
The good old days. Back in my day in 2020, I used to be able to buy a box from Aarron for $40.
Pre-corona prices. No.
Oh my God. PC prices.
Well, do you ever see the old videos, like if you watch like old clips of the National, like the baseball card exchange booth, and you see like a wax, this is not junk wax, but like a 1980 Topps like wax rack, and it's like $80. And you're like, oh, like if only we knew then what we know now.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I'm still doing that now, talking offline with some collector friends. It's like, oh, I kind of put on the side buying, I used this example in a previous episode. I'll touch on it quickly. 90 Impel Marvel Universe. It was my first non-sports set that me and my friends in school put together. You know, we bought boxes, we put them all together. And I was going to buy it at some point, but I was like, that's never going to go up, and I'll get that later. You only have a certain budget. I'm buying 78. So I was like, all right, I'll leave it for later. It's about an $80 box at the time. I decide to hold off. Then I decide like a month ago, they're like, all right, it's about time I buy that box. And I swear to God, I just did the usual, just looking it up. And all of a sudden I'm like, all right, there's a typo here. There's something wrong. The box is like $2,000 now. I was like, I guess I'm not buying that anymore. Well, it was an $80 box.
Does anybody actually know what led to that sharp price increase? Did a 10 sell or so of a Spider-Man or something? What led to this?
You know, that there's a lot of obvious in general, the answer to that question is it's a pretty winded answer, I would say. There's a lot of theories out there, but specific to Marvel, obviously you got to start with the fan base, and the big fan base, and the constant exposure, you know, in cinema, and to the, you know, Marvel's just big in general. And then you factor in all the buzz that trading cards are getting. I just think that was like this big explosion, right? Where people were like, hey, I remember as a kid getting these cards of Spider-Man and this and that from 90 or 89 or whatever. And I think that just kind of led to that. Factor in then the Wall Street element, which I won't get too much into the weeds in, but anytime they saw, you know, interest in something, they were getting gobbled up online. So you put that together, and that's a recipe for the boom.
Sure.
You know, at least my 2 cents on it. So, all right, let's see you guys again. Throw your questions out here. Some good discussion going on here between the group. I'll ask another question here, guys, as I kind of sift through all these comments. Aarron, we were talking about undervalued before. Let's talk now, conversely, about overvalued product. What do you think right now? There's might be a lot of answers to this question, so if you want to give me more than one, go for it. But what would you consider right now for junk wax era as being very, you know, as overvalued?
Well, I hesitate to think of the hobby in those terms. People like what they like, and, you know, they'll do what they have to do to get it. But that said, like 1990 Fleer basketball might be a little bit silly.
That was a very kind of nice, politically correct approach. But I don't disagree, though.
I mean, buy what you want and pay what you want, but
I have my doubts on 90 basketball. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. How about you, Brandon?
I'll be less politically correct. This might upset some people. 89 Upper Deck. 89 Upper Deck baseball. just you look at the magnitude of the increase, and it's just considering that this is mass produced, heart of the junk era product. I mean, if we're talking a lot of money per box. The packs I saw today on the Baseball Card Exchange website, $23.50 for a low series pack.
Per pack? $23.50?
Per pack. $23.50 a pack.
Oh man, really?
89.
Are they selling boxes right now? I didn't see.
I think they had some boxes.
Yeah,
but I
can only imagine what a box is going for if a pack's $23.50.
Yeah. So it was like, to me, that's just, I don't know if that's sustainable. That's
all for card number 1 of the set.
Yeah, for one card. I get it. I get 86 Topps football. Totally get that. And I don't even think I think we can all agree 86 Topps football. There's different types of junk wax. There are different eras. 86 Topps football is not junk wax, right? So because the layers of the rookie class that are in that, right? 84 Topps football, that's another one. We were talking earlier how 84 was kind of the, junk, considered junk up until, all of this craziness.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're chasing one card and that's it, and you could buy 2 or 3 boxes of 89 Upper Deck and not see one Griffey. You could buy 3 boxes and pull 12. That's the beauty / madness of Upper Deck. But
yeah, no, I that's a good answer. I was actually, and don't take offense to my answer on to that question, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel this way right now about 87 Fleer.
Oh, okay, sure.
And the reason I say it is because number one, I want to buy a box and I haven't, and now the price is no, but joking aside, I think it's like, and maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, call me out. But I look at what the price of, the price of the 87 Fleer glossy tin box is, what that's going for. Sure. And then I look at what the price of the regular issue wax packs are going for, that are like 3 to 4x over what the glossy goes for. The glossy was produced, it wasn't super limited, but it was a hell of a lot more limited than its counterpart. Yet the value is like, 3 times less, right, than this. So I just can't wrap my head around that. Like glossy is the rarer issue, yet it's so much cheaper than an 87 Fleer box. I get the wax pack value, that Aarron mentioned before. I know that plays into it, but I just don't know if. And then again, people set the market. But for me personally, I can't justify buying that box. Now I do have glossy, but I don't. But I don't have the regular issue yet because of that. So I do agree with you on 89, though. By the way, as well.
Sure. Well, I think part of the reason that 87 Fleer is so much more than 87 Donruss or 87 Topps is I think there's something special about that Bonds card. I think people love the 87 Fleer Bonds card more than any of the others, and I think it's the epitome of a baseball card in many respects. I've heard people say that before, and whatever you think of Barry Bonds,
No, but you're right. That's a big factor. That's a good point. For sure. And that is an iconic card. And when you look at his rookie cards, so Aarron, I have a question from Aarron / Kurt here. Minson, what's the worst junk wax product to press wax?
Probably in terms of sheer difficulty and just largely not worth it. It would be like Fleer Star Stickers wax.
That was very specific.
Yeah, 1987 through 1987, 1988 Fleer Star Stickers wax packs. Awful.
Oh, man. That's great. That was a specific question to you, so I'm going to leave that one just to you.
I don't press packs. I was like, please don't come to me with this question. Yeah.
I only do 87 Donruss because it's crazy easy on my eyes because my eyes suck. We had some good and thank you guys for the ones that are more well versed in hockey than us. I knew it was loaded with rookies, but God, look at this list. I mean, there's a lot of names, and those are all solid names. And then look, there's even more. So that's a great box to buy if you're a big time hockey fan. All right, so we have, let's see, 87 Fleer Baseball Best is still one of my favorite sets ever. Yeah, that's actually a good set. I have a couple of those myself. All right, guys, keep it coming in here. Going through here in order. Let's see here.
Josh Green brought up a good point about 87s is that Donruss is the only one that hit the mark on the Maddox. And they also got McGuire in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think top.
Yeah, Donruss has them all. And in the other sets, you have to go to like a traded or an update series. But Donruss was, to me, the one product that literally had them all.
Yeah. That 87 Fleer update Maddox is one of my favorite cards of this era. What a great card.
Yeah, that's a solid. That is an iconic. Definitely in my set as well. All right, guys. So again, any questions you have, bring them on. And as let's see what we've got going here. 80 tops. You know it's junk wax when the puzzle pieces are more desirable than the actual cards. That's 87 Donruss had the Clemente puzzle. That's actually what gravitated me to the Donruss. True story. They still print 87 Oh, that's great. So guys, let's see here. There's a ton of 87 tops, but it was also the first card of many people. So I think it will sky. Yeah, Josh, you're right. I think 87. We're talking, even us right now, we're talking quite a bit about it. It's what started me in the hobby. I think a lot of people gravitate to it. It's hard for me to call it junk for many reasons, junk wax, right? But it certainly fits in that era for the reasons we stated earlier. But it's a near and dear for me, for sure. And I think for the folks here talking with me as well, and you guys out there. So I have 87 to thank for me being such a hobby nerd today, quite frankly. So here's another question here. What was the first junk wax insert? The 1990 Pro Set SP cards? That's a very solid question. You want to... I don't know specifically. I'm trying to think of the first one that I remember in terms of inserts on football, Santa Claus and all that for Pro Set. I'm thinking that's kind of what he's alluding to there, right?
I guess it's, how do you define insert? I mean, what about, Diamond Kings and Donruss product? Is that an insert?
I don't know. I guess in theory, that would be considered like that kind of insert card that you were chasing back as a kid, because I certainly was. But so yeah,
anything that's like a pack pull that isn't part of the main set. So Diamond Kings would apply for at least 92, maybe 93. I know 91 they were just simple illustrations, same card stock as the rest of the set, and they were the first cards in the set.
Yeah.
Late as 91.
That's a great answer. I'm going to go with I'm going to piggyback off that and say Diamond King. I never thought of it from that perspective, but you're spot on.
I'm still just trying to think of something that predates Josh's 90 Pro Set SP cards. If those in fact qualify. I'm not familiar with those. I'm trying to think if there's anything from maybe late 80s or 1990 that would qualify as an insert, but yeah, DK is what I've got for the time being.
Yeah, and I don't know if Josh is referencing that because like I said, 89 Pro Set had the infamous Santa Claus card where you had to mail in to get the card mailed back to you, and that was like a big deal. So 89, 90, I think, is about the time I remember, like, let's call it special cards, something that was outside the norm, outside of the good answer there from Brandon on the DKs, because I think that qualifies. Josh's J-Lo have junk wax cards. Right. Oh, the beers are flowing tonight. 1990 Upper Deck hockey hollows were early, but they are so trapped. Yeah, but technically would that qualify as an insert? Regardless if they're trashy or not, right? And what about, now that he's mentioning that, guys, what's your take then on the stickers that Fleer would offer and the little hologram type stickers, that you would get inside every pack? Does that qualify in your, as an insert? There's no number to it. It's something different.
And it's something that you would chase. You know, maybe you were trying to get all the teams, or you were trying to get a specific team, so could qualify.
Maybe.
Yeah, and as a Mets fan, I would only get Cleveland Indians every time, but that's a whole other story.
I don't know.
What were you saying, Brandon?
In order for it to qualify as an insert, I think it should have a player on it. So I think the Fleer stickers would not qualify, but there's no reason for that. That's just my,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair opinion. I mean, yeah, no, that's fair opinion. Yeah, I agree. I just kind of threw it out there because I started thinking, all right, when I open up a box, what would I see in there? The silly mail in for a tattoo or some wacky little 5-cent toy or something of the like. But then DKs were definitely the other piece.
What about the stickers in random 83 Topps packs?
I'm lost on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen them. Like, I don't have a lot of experience opening 83s. I mean, forget about it. But, watching Kurt's rips and stuff, he'll pull the occasional like player sticker out of early towards mid 80s Topps baseball product. Kurt or Aarron would have to chime in to further clarify, as that's starting to get out of my range. But
yeah.
Maybe circle back to that.
Well, then the other question would be, and this is what I'm thinking of now, would be, what about the like team leaders cards in Topps, right? 2-player, Giants team leaders, A's team leaders.
See, I wouldn't qualify that though, only because it has a number to it in the set, right? So you have to complete the set. Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah.
Look what you did, Josh. Look what you started.
All right, so let's see what we've got here. What did 89 Upper Deck do to hurt Brandon? He must have ripped like 6 boxes and get 0 Griffies.
No, what's crazy is I have never ripped an 89 Upper Deck pack.
You haven't?
Never bought a box, never invested in it. I probably should have last year, like we all should have. I could be
well, what about if you get a couple packs and you open up on Hobby Talk Live in a future episode?
That would be awesome. No, I'm not opposed to opening the product. I just said I think it's overvalued. There's a lot of stuff that's overvalued. I think 87 Fleer is overvalued. I love 87. Like, it's not.
Yeah, I might hold you to that. You and with my guest luck on the show, you're gonna have like 2 packs. Open up and get like Smoltz and Randy Johnson in one, and like Biggio and Griffey in the other, and land like all the rookies that you can get in the set. And then I'll get like Casey Candell. Oh man, too funny. All right, guys, keep those comments coming in. I am catching up here. I see some questions kind of looming. Zach even has an 89 Upper Deck. Yeah. All right, we're gonna have to get Brandon an 89 Upper Deck. You pulled me a Griffey when I was recovering from the Rona. Oh, that's right, in one of his rips. Let's see.
87 Fleer. Why is that iconic?
Why
is any card iconic, Josh? I don't know. Like
it's a memory for what makes a card iconic for me is the memory behind it. It's obviously a question that can go in any direction based on who you talk to, right? Sure. But I mean, like I said, the Donruss for me, but Fleer was right there too. I bought a lot of Fleer, so I think both are certainly iconic cards. Looks like the 89 Griffey, like you were talking about. I mean, that's a card that so many people gravitated to because that was when you started seeing the articles in the newspapers and in the trade publications. What was the first picture that they would have when it talked about the hobby boom in 1991, 1999? They had that 89 Griffey. That was the picture you always saw. It's the card people resonated with when they talked baseball cards in that era. It was Griffey. Sure. But for us, a couple of years prior, it was Bonds. Bonds was hot.
Well, and to your earlier point, the 87 Donruss, I do think is on similar footing to the 87 Fleer. I think they're both, for the junk wax era, Bonds rookies. Include the 86 Topps traded Bonds doesn't get as much love, it seems like, because obviously you can't pull it in the pack. But it seems that's another iconic card.
Yeah, For sure, especially those Tiffany variations, which is a whole other story. But man, those are through the roof. Yeah, Josh, I apologize that we've gone. How long is it now? About 39 minutes into this episode, and we have not discussed the legendary Don Ass in this episode, and how the reason that Aarron got out of his Sandberg collection was to start a new player collection of unopened with ass showing on the back, and
strictly asses and poles.
Good luck with that. And I have to say, it's gonna be hard to find so much ass in the back, but I wish you the best. All right. On that note,
all you can hope is that ass is a 10.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I have a sneaking feeling that these comments are just becoming their own like secondary conversation, and it might not be the best thing to keep referencing these guys.
No, here's another one here. So anyone have any Junk Wax non-sport favorite boxes from Kurt? Wow. All right. How about you? Let's start with you, Aarron.
Jumps to mind might be like I forget what year it is, like a 93 Jurassic Park, maybe.
All right.
When those movies came out, I mean, my brother and I were all about it, and we were just gobbling up all things Jurassic Park related, and that could have been like, that week's Happy Meal, to the toys being released at the stores, and certainly the wax boxes or cello boxes more.
I didn't have my sound queued up for this since it's Hobby News Live today, but I would have totally have played the Jurassic Park theme as you explained that if I was better prepared.
There it is.
How about you, Brandon? Any non-sport favorites?
I would say 89 Topps Batman would be one, just because that was one of my favorite movies growing up. And I think just an awesome set. And then kind of boring, but Batman Returns Stadium Club 1992 is actually a lot of fun.
That is a cool set.
Like $12 a box or something. It's still just, I have no idea how many they produced. I'm sure nobody knows for sure, but
yeah,
those two would probably be for me.
Yeah, you and Josh have something in common. He actually just wrote that there. My favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I think I'll piggyback off you guys. I mean, I have a couple, for different reasons. I think to me, the most fun was definitely the Batman. I mentioned earlier, I shouldn't say the most, one of them, but the Marvel Universe that I mentioned before because of just being really the first non-sport set I ever put together. So that one as well. Even the Desert Shield, not the Topps Desert Shield, but the actual Desert Shield cards. I had some family that military, and they had gravitated to that. They knew I was a big card nerd as a kid, and they were like, "Oh, well, I'll do a set with you," and they started buying those and putting those together alongside with me. So that would probably be another one.
Are you talking about the Pro Set ones?
Yeah,
where it was like live action stuff, and
it was just scenes and pictures of what was going on at the time, and they made the set. It's not worth anything, but it was just cool from a sentimental standpoint. Just some camaraderie there, some time with my uncle putting that set together.
I was especially into that too.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the set with the camouflage borders, right?
Yeah, you had the camouflage borders. Yep.
I opened a bunch of that as a kid. My grandfather's the person that really got me started with collecting, and he just had boxes and boxes and boxes of it. He's like, "Open this crap," and I'm just like,
you can get that everywhere.
yeah. And I was like, "Fine, I'll open it."
I'm convinced that those cards actually partially funded the war. In the 40s, it was
they could have thrown some inserts in there or something, like a George Herbert Walker Bush, like refractor or something, or a Saddam die cut.
Here's your Colin Powell die cut autograph.
A Saddam auto.
Saddam auto, yeah.
Oh God, that was fun.
That would have retained some interest, moving on in the decades for sure, if they would have gotten just a touch more creative with it.
Yeah. CPA Mike, thanks for joining us here tonight. His question is 86 Topps baseball junk wax. We were actually just talking about this earlier, Mike. You asked me that question a few months ago. I probably would have like definitively said yes. I still won't say no to it, but I think it's kind of in that gray area now where it's up for debate. I'm kind of like not to answer like Brandon earlier, right? But I truly am not sure how to answer that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's junk wax.
I like
but it can be redeemed.
It can be redeemed. The black border madness.
Yeah.
All right.
You just have to be brave enough.
Brave enough.
Yeah, to rip it and get those crisp black borders and get those 10s.
We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference from '89 from Kerr. Yeah, those were pretty popular as well. I don't know, like I don't personally, I didn't do much with it, but I mean, I guess when you talk about non-sports in the junk wax era, I suppose it would be a disservice if we didn't mention Garbage Pail Kids and what that did to impact the non-sport 80s right into the 90s run. I guess I'm not sure the full era, but I know it would fall under that window of junk wax, right? I mean, it was right around that time. Especially the first series and what that's worth now. I mean, that's an insanely that's a pretty expensive box these days.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not sure if you guys consider wrestling sport or non-sport, but that's another one I guess you can talk about here because God, I mean, what's an 87 box go for now?
Well, piggybacking off of Kurt's comment, there's actually some later junk wax Ninja Turtles packs that are tough to find. The third movie, for some reason, there's just not that many boxes and very few wax packs.
What year is that issue?
1993, I believe.
93?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, 93 or 94, but there's just not very much of it. And so
rumor has it there's a 40-foot container of it in Iowa.
Okay. I mean, a single pack is probably $7 or $8 for Ninja Turtles.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Learning something new.
So for whatever reason, but
Aarron, sell that pallet you got.
Sell.
All right. So, a question from Mark: is the rise in cost to sub singles to PSA and now SGC going to curtail the rise of the junk era prices? That's a fantastic question, Mark.
Yeah. It is.
So, who wants? Aarron, you want to take that one first? Oh, let's go with Brandon first.
Yes, please.
Is it going to curtail the rise of junk era prices? I don't know, because I mean, I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen once this flood of cards that PSA has not sent back yet. What's going to happen to prices when that happens? Because the market, when they flood the market, that is going to drive down demand a bit. That is going to drive down prices a little bit.
Yeah.
And they have millions and millions of cards just sitting there. And how many of those are junk wax? Probably a lot of them are ultra modern, right? But you can bet that quite a few of them are junk wax.
Yeah, fair point.
I mean,
we're about 12 months removed from like 50, 88 Topps Roberto Alomar PSA 8s showing up on eBay. I digress though. Yeah. Aarron, what about you, buddy? What's your take on this?
I don't know. I think at the very least, it's going to. Let me read their question again.
Yeah, I realized I didn't answer their question, so that was probably.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, you go first, Al.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me chime in real quick as you guys think about this one. But I think the rise of cost, in costs to sub is definitely going to factor in big time. The hobby in general. I think it's going to make people think twice. I think Raw will probably see a spike. I think there's going to be a level of frustration for the true collector, as I was noting in Monday's show. I still firmly believe that this was a bad decision, on their part, because it will shift the hobby in what I believe to be the wrong direction. I think there's always a dotted line between collectors and let's call them quote unquote investors and flippers or whatnot. But what you really did was you kind of appeased to that flipper investor heavily with these decisions that want their card quick for one reason and one reason alone, right? To flip it. And you forgot about the collector who's looking to get their collection in these beautiful encapsulated pieces. And just for whatever reason, whether that card had something to do with a story behind it or just a player they admired or whatever, you kind of just forgot about that. So I think, I think the junk wax era, to me, the prices are going to hurt one way or another. It's really hard to tell how, but that's my 2 cents is I think people are going to think twice. So, Brandon, I'm sorry if you want to kind of chime in on that.
No, I think you're spot on. I think, this one point you made about the increased demand for raw cards, that's an interesting idea, because we don't typically think about some of these junk era rookies, right? If you pull a 89 Fleer Griffey and you think it has a shot at a 10, what do? You send it in, but with this increase in price, even with the higher prices for a 10, maybe more people say, if it comes back an 8 for whatever reason, with the randomness of grading, we've all had that where you get a card back and you're like, okay, show me the flaws here. Why is this an 8? I've looked this over as closely as anybody. That randomness to the grade. It's not just the backlog. It's not just the increased price. It's that I could wait all this time, pay more money, and then get an 8 when I could get a 10. I could have just sold it raw and made just as much money as this 8.
Yeah.
That's important to consider.
Yeah. What's your take on all this, Aarron?
I'm not sure I can elaborate any more than you guys have, from the coming from a junk wax pack guy. Yeah. That's my lane. That's my lane, man.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, it's going to be an interesting few months for sure. So we'll move on here. Aarron, if you could build any set, what set would you build? Let's start with you on that, Aarron.
Sure. Are we talking just a set of raw cards or a set of packs with a certain player showing?
Let's assume she meant like a set. I've been known to go
down a rabbit hole. I've been known to go down a rabbit hole, so you got to be more specific. If I could hand collate any set, I'm assuming is what we're going to go forward with here.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Oh man. If price wasn't a factor and we're talking junk era, I would say probably 83 tops.
Okay.
It's a quintessential set for me.
Yeah.
Got the holy trinity of rookie cards in there, and you've got the carryover Hall of Famers of old, and that's the set.
Fair. Yeah. How about you there, Brandon?
I mean, we can debate if this is junk wax. It's probably not, but 86 Fleer basketball.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you went for the real cheap stuff there, huh, buddy?
Yeah, real cheap. Real low bar there.
Oh, man.
I thought I was getting out of my lane with the 83 tops.
Yeah.
Holy.
Well, I mean, you said any set, they asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's fair.
For me, keeping in line with the topic today of junk wax era, I'll have to go with 52 tops. It's just...
That's what I was going to say first, and I was like, that.
Oh man, no, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I would say, if I don't really do set building much anymore, but if I was to start building a set to get, right out of the gate, if it wasn't just junk wax, I'd probably go right back to the last set I built, which is 78 tops. And in junk wax, I go right to the 87 Donruss. I would start with what what I did as a kid with the 87 Donruss. That's the first set I actually built. So, those would be my two. So got plenty of questions here, guys, and just know that I know you put them out there a while ago. I'm getting to them. I'm just trying to go in order here with some of the great comments coming in. So thanks and keep them coming. 84 Donner said weird numbered Benchy Az card. Is that an insert? I think, Mark, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. If it had a number to the set, I'm not sure if I personally would consider that an insert. But yeah, that was a wacky card. John, too drunk for this confusing Kurt Aaron. Happy Friday, Josh.
He's using that Aarron profile as a cover because he knows he should be here.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, we got to give Kurt a break. He's been on like 40 episodes.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
CPA Mike, I had an eBay seller throw that MJ91 Upper Deck baseball card as a bonus. Is it worth something now? You know what? The answer is yes, Mike. That's one of those meteoric rise cards. And I don't know if Aarron or Brandon can chime in more on it because I don't know the current value now, but I do know I saw some some posts about how it was here and now it's here. So Brandon, are you well versed on that card?
I followed it somewhat closely for the price of 10s, like a lot of other Jordan 10s. It's up there with the 1990 Fleer 10, even more than the 1990 Fleer 10. And I guess it's because it's a short print, whatever that means for 1991 Upper Deck. But are there millions of them? Yes. But, the fact that it's Jordan and he's in his
MJ
baseball uniform, I mean,
yeah. Look, actually, Josh is chiming in saying it's like $1,000 card in PSA 10. Wow, that's crazy.
I saw one last week. I think it went for $1,300 in a 10 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the price of 91 Upper Deck has risen as a result, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How's the Tom Selleck doing these days?
The Tom Selleck?
Yeah. It was the other insert card in conjunction with them. Yeah.
You're messing with me,
Tom Selleck
right?
playing ball.
Oh, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Look, I'm going to believe you.
Get out your Beckett's. Yeah, get out your Beckett's. It was like the SP2. Jordan was the SP1 or something, wasn't he?
Yes.
And Magnum PI was the SP2? Did they just run out of superstars after Jordan?
They're like, well, so we have Michael Jordan. We need some other real star power.
How do we top Jordan?
How do we top MJ?
Tom Selleck. Oh, that's great.
It was some kind of celebrity gathering that they were all there for, and it was Jordan and Selleck, and I'm sure among others, but those are the two that got put on the cards. And
yeah, look, someone is gonna immediately go great there, Jordan. Oh, that's funny. All right, so let's see. Let's go right to questions. Let's see. That is not literally a question, but it's funny. That's funny. What a beautiful coincidence. I just tuned in and we're talking about that. Well, yeah, we're talking about Aaron's. He made it's a hobby networking group exclusive. He is moving away from Sandberg, has moved away, and he is working diligently on creating a ass on backpack collection for PSA to consider.
I'm grabbing them asses.
Oh, Brandon. Welcome to the madness, Brandon. Oh man, that's great. All right, guys. So let's see if I have another question. If not, I do have a couple more here for you. Everybody wanted the General Short. Yeah, that's in reference to the Desert Short. Yeah,
for sure.
You mentioned before, actually, the George Bush card. Now we're talking about inserts. 1990 Topps. Remember that special card they made for the president, where he was in his Yale baseball uniform, and only a handful of them made it out there. Talk about like kind of diamonds in the quote unquote junk wax era, right? I think that card is. I don't even know what that card would go for now, but the few times I saw it out there, that card was big bucks. And I'm not sure what the pop is on that. I think there's only like double digits on that, maybe 10 to 15 of those cards out there.
It was like a backdoor release or something.
No, you know what happened was, don't quote me on the specifics of the story, but I remember that Topps, I think the owner of Topps or something, it was he came to the White House and his gift was these special cards, that he brought to, I think for George Bush. Now, I don't know if all of them made it or he produced X amount and only brought a couple to the White House. And then the rest that he produced made it out to the market. Might've been something like that. But the intent of the card originally was as a gift to the president. And again, he played baseball, college baseball. Based on the stats, I remember he was like Bob Uecker. He was batting like 200 and maybe had like 4 hits. Wasn't exactly a good baseball player.
Gonna have a great career in the booth.
Yeah. Exactly. What happened to Mars Attacks? Did he need to fold the laundry again? Or is he out for a long walk? Yeah, not sure what happened to him. He was in and out here. Let's see. Questions. Why won't RBC sell more fast junk? All right, that's a Kurt question. So guys, let me ask you this. We were talking a little bit about inserts before, and guys, any questions, throw them in. I'll make sure to get to them. But when we talk about this junk wax era, the notion of junk wax is always about overproduced cards, in this era of, let's call it mid 80s, right into what we've defined, let's call it mid 90s, just to kind of peg an end date. Now, what I've always found interesting personally is that within this window of this era, there were a lot of, let's call them diamonds. I just mentioned the George, Bush one. Let's throw that in the mix. But let me give you a couple of other examples. Tiffany, of course, is probably one of the most popular limited production runs. Depending on the year, you had 5,000 produced, maybe 10,000 produced on 88, I believe. But then you look at 84 Tiffany's and 90, 91 Tiffany's, very low numbers, right? Score glossy, Fleer glossy. There's all these limited production runs in this era. So I just wanted to get, and I'll start with you, Brandon. What's your take on the limited production series product during the junk wax era, and how does that impact, the let's call it the era itself?
Sure. I still think it's still a bit of a niche collector's item in some respects. I just don't see quite as there's demand for it, but the demand that exists is from it seems like a smaller group of collectors that are very passionate about that particular set. That's just been my impression. I don't know if that's been your experience, but it just seems much more, for whatever reason, much more just like a fine wine kind of the junk wax era. Like it's an acquired taste or something.
Fair enough. How about you, Aaron? What's your take on the limited production series?
As far as like picking a card out of a crowd, there's not really many striking difference that make me say, oh man, I like this vastly more than the regular release. But a part of me does appreciate that during a period of heightened production that they were, they actually made a conscious effort to make a limited and exclusive release that tailored to more seasoned collectors. So tip of the cap to them there. I think the way that it maintains relevance now is probably in the form of like player collectors, people who are looking for every single, card of an individual player. And, that's a variation that they need to get. Not only that, it's limited and, it has kind of a heightened sense of value in the mind of the individual collector in that regard.
Yeah.
But, as far as, the quality of the card, like an 88 score glossy and a regular 88 score, it's like I could do without one or the other or both,
Yeah.
frankly. But, it's nice try in some cases.
Fair point. One wrinkle I'll throw into all this, right? Because when I think about it, I'm a fan of the limited issues, the Tiffany's and all that. And I get the real differences. Well, depending on the year, the card stock on Tiffany was nicer, the white back versus the kind of the cardboard back, and obviously the glossy right front. But one thing we could say, right, is that they're sets, so there's no mystery, right, in opening packs. But there is one absolute diamond in the junk wax era, and I've done a few interviews with Nick Cord on this and learned a lot about it, which was the 91 Topps Desert Shield. You wanted to get that perfect storm in the junk wax era of rare, but still have that mystery of opening up a pack and not sure what you're going to get. I don't think you can look anywhere else, right? But the Desert Shield, pack. So those are insane. Very, very difficult to find. And it's even more difficult because as I learned on these interviews that I had done, there was no way to tell from the outside if you had it or not until you opened up a pack. Topps didn't do anything they didn't create a unique identifier on the box or on the pack itself. So add that other layer of mystery to the whole thing, and it really makes it kind of like that, that unicorn, that rare, right in the heart of the junk wax era, right? That 91. So
yeah, if I could go back and change my answer about what set I would like to build, it would probably be that one.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I don't know if you saw it or not, but he has the #1 set registry for Beckett set registry. He has all 792 cards graded in 8.5 or higher. It's beyond impressive. Just and the fact that he has unopened boxes and packs and the original Topps letter, from the president of Topps when they were given out to the troops. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's definitely a labor of love right there. So, guys, I'll go right back here to the questions. Let's see what we've got. Let's see. Yeah, that's a fair point, and I know that's the kind of like the let's call it the elephant in the room. I'm just kind of looking to see. That's funny, Tom Selleck quote for Don.
I'm telling you, it exists, guys. I'm not just making shit up.
Well, I'm going to look it up. Tom Selleck / Frank Thomas was an SP in 92 Upper Deck for the Mr. Baseball movie. Thank you,
was
Joe.
That 92? Dang it. All right.
I'll
own that one. I messed up. Cue the sound effects.
That makes more sense because the MJ Tom Selleck is what I was struggling with. It's like, okay, this is the most mismatched. I don't really understand how you go from MJ to
greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Magnum PI.
All right, I got it. I said I was an idiot. You don't have to rub it in, Brandon. Jeez.
No, the fact that you knew there was a Tom Selleck, you knew way more than me.
Yeah.
The fact that it was even in 92 Upper Deck, even though there's a baseball movie, it's still weird to me. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. So, like I was saying before, I think, as I'm looking here, I know there's some comments regarding, the live episode I did on Monday and the hot topic of the week, as I had called or coined Hobby Black Monday. It was definitely something that I think hurt a lot of us collectors. And I know that today's topic is junk wax era, but I don't have any problem at all, especially with the great group I have here today to kind of chime in a little bit more with them about it and just kind of get everyone's take on that. So, before I pass the mic over to them, I think I'll just say that, today's news was just another layer to the madness that's going on right in the hobby. I still feel the same way I do, more so than ever with this news. And I truly do think that when you look at that, and I'm just going to echo what I was saying offline here. I think when you look at the decision to do this, it's a very poor decision. To me, it was really not well thought out at all. And to me, it's also a testament that you're accepting PSA as the lion, as the alpha, and that you're willing to kind of just be the follower in the industry. Because if you want to be the #1, you have to be an innovator. You have to think outside the box. You have to take bumps and bruises financially to build a base and to win people over. And what a clear paved path PSA left on Monday to an SGC to do that, because a lot of us were pissed. And we were like, you know what? SGC is starting to sound sweeter and sweeter. They've been in the business for a long time. They have reputable graders. Their grading process is arguably even harder, than PSA, some would say. So it was all there for them to kind of take the market share. And what do they do today? They announce a price increase to pretty much parity with PSA. What is it, $25 now, actually? And the guarantee is less hold times, which many people have already, they're still better than PSA, but their promise of X days is already been, proven to be wrong, because many folks have said it's taken as much as 4 times the amount of time that what they've paid for in hold time. So I don't know. I'll stop the rant there, and I'll start with you, Brandon. What's your take on all the news this week and today's SGC news?
Sure. Well, I do think PSA had two different routes that they could go, right? They could do what they did. They could raise prices, or they can do what companies like Baseball Card Exchange have done either a partial stop on new submissions or completely stop new submissions until they get their affairs in order and figure out the best approach to how do we go forward and manage this massive influx of cards that we're getting. And they chose the a kind of a no-brainer. To me, it makes sense that they did this, because I think they're hoping that they will get less submissions. Maybe this will help cut down on the backlog. This will help cut down on the backlog, and also at the same time, we're making money hand over fist either way. People aren't just going to abandon us. We're still the top grading company out there. So what are you going to do? Is basically what I think they're saying. What are you going to do?
It's interesting. It's interesting, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's. I mean, in long term, I think you're exactly right about SGC. PSA's increase made sense to me. SGC had a golden opportunity, and they squandered it. Absolutely squandered it.
Yeah. Aarron, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, with SGC, unless they had the presence of mind to know that PSA just created a huge hole out there, and they had the presence of mind to know that they couldn't accommodate that carryover demand, and they raised prices as a preventative measure, saying, look, we're not a viable alternative for the just sheer masses of people that are subbing right now. Unless that's the case, then they made a bad call. And even if it is the case, maybe step up your game a little bit.
Yeah. I think I'm still in shock that they would make this decision. That's my clear take on this is they want to follow the leader and create more profits, even though they have exponentially increased their volume as well. So, anytime you hear this I like to call CEO for dummies type of response that you see on social media from PSA or SGC on this, you almost want to say, just tell us the truth. We're not stupid. The hobby's peaking right now. You're making money hand over fist at the current rate. You just want to make more because you don't think you're going to lose enough of your base. You've done some projections, you've done the math and say, okay, if we lose X percent of incoming volume, but we're increasing prices 60%, we're going to net positive. That's what you did. And, to me, and I mentioned this offline and I've mentioned this on Monday, and I'll say it one more time today again, I think that there's a fine line in this hobby for a long time between collector and investor. And I think that the news this week has really shown that, the grading companies are much more interested in the flipper investor instead of the collector. And I think they should tread very lightly, because as you push the collector away, who are these guys going to sell to? You're going to investor to investor. Eventually they're going to get tired of that when they realize that the people that actually created this base is the collector, and they're gone and they've moved on to another grading service, or just going back to raw, or have looked for alternatives, because I think we're still going to be collectors at heart, I think, but we'll find other ways. Right. But if you're only left with the people that are looking for financial gain, and you lost the people that actually truly enjoy this, everything from the nostalgia to this conversation amongst collectors and friendships that are built, if you lose that element of it, then I think somebody's going to be, left holding the bag. So that's going to be, to me, interesting to see what happens in the long term. But I think that news has kind of set that road, that path to investor first, collector second, and let's see how we react to it at the end of the day.
Well, they're losing me. I can tell you that as a long-term collector, just to see them squander everything for short-term gains, I'm going to figure out a different mode of collecting that has nothing to do with them personally.
Well, I think one of the things we have to keep in mind, right? It was, of just a couple of years ago. Remember the trimming scandal they were embroiled in?
Yeah.
And all of these graded cards that are out there that were altered, and PSA isn't catching this, or maybe PWCC has someone on the inside at PSA. Like there's all this skepticism. We're cynical about grading, and we're cynical about PSA. They survived that.
Yeah,
I think they're a powerhouse. I mean, I think it is a very, their decision is very arrogant. It's very arrogant. There's a lot.
You're right. You're right. They did survive some storms. I think it's just, to me, it's a question of, what storm will kind of break them, or hurt their market share. Clearly, the trimming scandal, a lot of us thought would, and it really didn't. Some previous scandals from back in my forum days with mantles and Jordans didn't break them either, but that was more, it wasn't as easy back then. It wasn't the Facebooks of the world and all that to kind of disseminate this information as much. And a lot of people don't even know a lot about what happened, years ago with Mantle.
Not the most famous card in the hobby, the T206 Wagner, Gretzky Wagner, that was an 8.
Yeah.
Trimmed.
Yeah, and it's still worth a ton of money, to your point.
The first card they graded, the hallmark that put PSA on the map, a total mirage.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. I think, I think right now, to me, this particular piece is kind of different in the sense that, it's I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have really been upset by it, and I think there's somebody just lurking in the shadows, and I've mentioned them plenty of times, and I don't know a lot about them. I really don't. I just know that they have a deep financial backing, more so than SGC and even more so than Beckett, and that's CSG. They are monsters in their industry in comics and coins, and if they're smart enough about all this, which currently they are, they haven't instituted price increases yet, you could still send cards over there for $8 a card on a bulk submission, and get a with 4 subgrades like Beckett does. So it'll be interesting to note, and I'll probably dip my toe in the water with something modest just to kind of test the waters out. But I think if they do things right, and it takes time, like we've talked offline, can they do something to hurt them? Possibly. I don't think SGC and Beckett have the opportunity to do that, and I think that they've accepted their secondary role in this market. I could be wrong, but that's just my take on this. I think CSG is a whole different story. So let's see what's coming in here, guys. Sadly, I don't think the companies worry about the collectors. This hobby has quickly become an investing business. PSAs make. Yeah. I mean, it's understood. It's sad. Honestly, it's sad. It's an accepted situation, but it's sad, and it's enough for me to rant not once but twice about it. So. We've all been there, Brandon. I remember the trimming scandal. You did a great job talking through that one a while back, on your show, but there's certain topics that really kind of get to your core, and you feel like you have to kind of get it out there and talk about it, so
and I'm actually curious how much attention the price increases at PSA will get in some of the hobby publications, like Sports Collectors Digest. I'm one of the 30 people that still get that in the mail. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I read it. I look at Kevin Savage Sports Auctions, that type of stuff. But like, they gave zero attention to the trimming scandal. Zero.
Yeah.
It's bad for the hobby.
Right. Understood.
And there's hard news, but that's not really what people want to read about right now.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how much traction. I know on the Blowout Cards forums, I'm interested to see how the price increases or what that conversation is looking like right now. But maybe that's a good gauge of how people are feeling.
Yeah.
But
fair
I don't
point.
know. We'll see what happens.
Josh, to answer your question, I will not be destroyed. I'm pretty conditioned at this point. But yeah. Well done, Josh. I was expecting you to roast me at some point for my Monday rant. But I know deep down inside you agree with me. So and Mike, don't add fuel to the fire, please. All right, so let's see what we've got here. I think the big question is, what is going to happen to deflate this bubble we are in? Is it going to be something inside the hobby, or is it going to be external? It's obvious a pandemic won't pop it. What's your take on that, Aarron?
I think we need an infusion of healthy competition, in the grading industry. I think we need players to step up to the plate. I think collectors need to splay themselves out a little bit more among different graders. And, people are in this for not loyalty to a company, but, loyalty to self-interest. They're going to go with whoever is going to, pay off well for them. And, right now people are jumping on the PSA bandwagon, and it's just getting, I lost my train of thought, man. I can't do this.
It's all good. I think it's been a long week of this conversation, but I think ultimately
That's where I'm at.
We've had a lot of good insight as a whole here on the topic. I think Andy, I think ultimately to kind of piggyback off what he was saying is I think we need more help, to his point, we need more competition. I think, I don't think the hobby is like doomed or anything. I just think people will pivot. As I mentioned earlier, we're collectors at heart first with that obvious dotted line to the financial piece. But as long as we feel like we can still be able to be collectors, while the market grows at a reasonable rate in the hobby, then I think everybody will be happy. That's that fine line we've always had in the hobby, and that's the fine line we need to continue to maintain. I think this madness that's going on right now is getting to everybody's heads, especially the graders, and I think they're going to regret some of the decisions they've made this week. And I'll throw eBay in the mix with some of the decisions they've made with their loyalty programs, which I won't go back into, but I think that's just bad decisions. So
thanks, buddy. I've taken on the heart of the hobby, and you've taken on its mind, and you cleaned that up nicely, and you brought it back down to earth for us. I appreciate it. Right, because right now this heart is broken, buddy.
Oh man, it is. It's tough. It's definitely tough, man. What do we have here? I think you meant CSG, by the way, right there. It's using AI to grade as well as forensics. If they can get that mastered, it could be game over. Mike, solid comment, and it's true. The AI piece has been discussed over and over again on previous shows here as well, and just in the industry in general. Brandon, I'll ask you, what's your take? Like if you were to send a card,
Sure.
to CSG, and knowing that basically AI is and it's not just some grader sitting in an office that might have had a bad day at home, arguing with someone or just bringing their personal baggage, and then everything's a 7 today because I'm upset, versus an AI that's just looking at Brandon's card. What's your take on that?
It's a matter of, at least as if looking at this as an investor, it's a matter of the name power of the grading company, unfortunately. And even though if they are using forensics, that's very, very appealing, and if they're using AI, that's great. But at the same time, PSA, I don't know, PSA and SGC, it's still, I would prefer it, even with the flaws in the system that exists. Now, if they were to harness this stuff and harness AI, I don't know what stage either one of those companies are in this process, but that could be game over, because now you're really getting rid of all of this. So, you see some wide disparities in grades. You see people, they submit a card, they think it's a 9, it comes back a 5.
Yeah.
Again, they take a loop to it. They look at I have no idea what's wrong with this. It's someone who had a fight with their girlfriend who, no.
Take it out on Aarron's packs, Amber packs.
I'm going to punish her 88, a top big. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I'm a Topps big fan.
Oh, okay, no, I'm
no, I'm just playing with you, Brad.
No, but I don't know. To me, it's a trade-off. We trade. I just don't. We trade the inaccuracies and the frustration with PSA for the name.
Yeah. I will say this. You're right. I mean, if PSA was to go the AI route, which has been rumored at this point that they are looking into making some extensive changes, that would essentially streamline the process, get things in and out of their offices quicker. It'll be less subjective, right? I mean, it'll change the hobby as a whole. There, so that would be really interesting to see if that plays into it. But CSG already has it, so that's something we can't. And who knows how long it's going to take for PSA? So I don't know, Aaron. What's your take on that?
I'm really intrigued by that burgeoning technology with them and with HGA kind of utilizing it as well. Right. I think it's really important for these up and comers to pick a lane and stay in it and prove the merits of this technology and the process and build a rapport with people, as they're rolling this technology out and proving results over time, and then start to expand slowly. Because I've heard like that this, I think it's HGA, for example, that I've heard they're playing around with the idea of delving into unopened. It's like, that's probably the worst possible thing you can do, is to start expanding, let alone into, unopened, where you have some of the most discerning collectors there are in the hobby. Pick your lane, stick with the ultra modern stuff that's crisp and clean out of a pack, that if this software tells you it's a 9.5 or a 10, you'll probably be more inclined to believe that, okay, yeah, it's a 9 or a 10, and really just kind of gain a rapport with collectors and continue the slow climb, because people have been saying for years that AI is the way to go. It's like, well, now it's here, and now it's time to really invest the time to prove the results.
Like anything else, buddy, it's going to take time to win everyone over, no question about it. It's going to be interesting to see, with these changes. I think there's going to be a heightened level of intrigue and even embracing, right, and even trust into this, based on the frustrations I mentioned earlier, where people say, all right, I'll dip my toe in the water, I'll give it a shot, let me bring these cards in. I mean, I think if you come back happy, if a collector base start, seeing themselves happy with it as well, it'll be interesting to see how people start ending, ultimately pivoting. And then to your point, Brandon, very good point too, is how quickly does PSA adjust as well? Because as soon as they do it, given their reputation, it might be like a black hole and they suck everybody back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That was gravitating to these other guys, right?
Well, or maybe it's a sign that they're second guessing themselves if they adopt the AI technology.
That's a good point.
And then it works.
And we do need to be specific. We do need to be specific here, because there's still very much a human element to grading, and that's with pack authentication.
Yeah.
Pack. Maybe you could do AI with pack grading, but what does that look like? But the authentication of the pack, trust that to a computer. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So that's just something to think about. What does this next stage look like? Where does unopened material come in here?
Yeah, see, I agree with you. Unopened's a whole completely, to me, it's going to be a completely separate animal that won't even fall into this. I think it's just specific to slabs at this point. But great, excellent point. I like what Dan said here, guys, and I wanted to share it with you guys and get your take, because I agree wholeheartedly with this comment, Dan. Thanks for chiming in here. The PSA set registry, was the smartest thing PSA ever did, as it married so many people to PSA. I think that's a real big piece to the equation with PSA's, booming growth in the last, let's call it 10 or so years, has to do with the set registry, and the awards given out and the recognition for people's amazing collections. So, Aaron, I think you're extremely well versed in this, having won the award just last year on the Sandberg set. So, would you say there's an element of truth to the PSA registry being, one of the biggest factors, if you will, to their growth?
Absolutely. And for any criticism that I have for PSA, whenever I've talked to somebody who is employed in their set registry department in any capacity, it's always been great. Communication has always been prompt. I get the sense that they truly care about the collector. That's where it ends at PSA in that regard. To me, these ongoing and recent price increases seem to be at direct odds with the set registry collector. It's becoming increasingly more prohibitive to send items for encapsulation to be included in those registry sets. Whether you're a pack collector, whether you're a single card collector, suddenly you find yourselves needing that 1994. You need to fill that hole in your Tony Gwynn basics set with that 1994 tops, and you've got a couple really clean ones, but now it costs $20 a pop to send them, and you could get an 8. A call back to what we were talking about earlier, so they're really shooting themselves in the foot by alienating the true and committed long-term collector with these price increases that really there's no end in sight. Really.
Excellent comments there. Brandon, what's do you think the set registry, to Aarron's point, was a big part of this whole equation with PSA's growth?
Yeah, I definitely think it's played a role, because because there's only one way to go. Once you've started down the rabbit hole, you're committed. And if you're all in, and if you're passionate about a player or whatever the specific, item you're devoting your time to, there's only one way to go. They have you. And I have no doubt that was at the very beginning a very strategic decision on there.
Yeah, it sucked me in for sure with Roberto Clemente. That's what started me in this whole thing with PSA.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's and it takes a certain type of collector to want to do the set registry. Like I just don't have the patience for it. Like I'm all over the place sometimes. Sometimes I like 83 tops. I like this. I go back and forth. But for the diehard who has the focus and the collector that's really driven just by passion for a player or a set or what have you, then and everybody I've heard talk about it, including other YouTube channels, they say the set registry is so addictive. Like it's so addictive. Like I can't. That's why
I applaud guys like Aarron. I mean, it's that labor of love, as you so well put it in our interview a couple months ago. It was. I don't think I have to Brandon's point. I don't think I have the patience for that. But God, that must have been. I think you told me it was like a 3-year, roughly, right, undertaking, right, to get the kind of. Between finding the packs or just getting packs that were already, done. I mean, that was a labor intensive process, right? And even now with your Don Ass collection that you're working on, that's got to be tough too.
The set, okay, listen, okay. The set registry absolutely has its appeal, right? It enables a collector to set and accomplish goals within their own collections. It allows them to publicly display their progress. It allows for other collectors to comment and interact with them in their own PC endeavors. But that doesn't mean that they have you right where they want you. Like they can lose collectors, and they are. They lost one in me. One of the more committed pack player collectors that you could potentially run into, they lost me because of, they ultimately lost touch with who they were marketing to in the first place.
Yeah. No, and it's good to hear that kind of insight because, I agree. There's a lot more Aarrons out there, that are, gravitating away and, and it's because of some of these recent decisions. So I'll tell you, I have an actual pivoting back to junk wax. There's a junk wax question here. That's good. I want to put it on here. And thank you, Josh. I have an actual junk wax question. Are the influx of new collectors who are buying the stuff and driving up prices, ripping the boxes, looking for 10 cards, or stockpiling? Obviously, this is pure opinion at this point. I'll chime in first on this, Josh. I think if I was to, from a percentage standpoint, what's more, I'm going to say it's the first. I think there's a lot of folks with all the like there's so much press out there from the mainstream media outlets. A lot of people that weren't buying cards are now buying it because the base is a lot, larger now, I think. So I think there's both, to answer your question quickly. But if I had to pick percentage, I think there's a lot of them that are buying the boxes and saying, hey, hey, son, or hey, daughter, like I used to do this when I was a kid. You want to rip this box with me? So that casual secondary, like sports fan / collector is kind of resurfacing now because of all this nostalgic press, if you will. So I think there's more of that kind of going on with some of these boxes there. Now, the stockpiling of boxes is also happening. Now, when you're looking at collectors to collectors, there's more of these, like I mentioned earlier. But unfortunately, from an inventory standpoint, the stockpilers probably have the collectors beat because they're buying so much of it and just stashing it. So I think I know I kind of weirdly answered that question, but I hope I gave you my insight. Brandon, what's your take on it?
Well, what's interesting is that I think, especially with some of the unopened stuff, whether junk wax or not, I think some of the prices, they're collector prices, right? I'm trying to figure out what to say, how to word this here. I think they're collector prices because there's that possibility of opening it and pulling that magical card, right, in fantastic shape, right? You look at the appeal of 1980 tops, for example. I know it's not quite junk wax, but we're in that ballpark, right? There's still that allure of pulling a Henderson fresh out of a pack. And something about that feeling leads people sometimes to be a little more financially loose with their resources.
More so than ever the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no kidding. So there's a sentimental aspect, even though it's clear, oh wow, this is a fantastic investment. Well, the sentiment is what's driving why this is such a good investment.
Yeah.
I don't think it's people buying the stuff to get it graded that's driving it. I think this is all sentiment for the most part.
Interesting. Yeah. Aarron, what's your take on that question?
Well, I hope whether people are ripping or stockpiling, they're having fun. They're enjoying themselves first and foremost. That's the point behind all of this, or at least it should be. Beyond that, it's pretty clear with a PSA backlog as extensive as Brandon has, said it is, and we've commented on it, that people are clearly ripping and submitting out there. It'd be tough to quantify what's being ripped the most, what's being submitted the most, what unopened product we're losing. But I just hope that at least some people are stockpiling, and I hope of those some people, a few of those people wind up becoming committed long-term unopened collectors and join the ranks accordingly and really get it. And I'm interested in meeting those people.
Yeah, there is. I wholeheartedly agree with all this. It's not all doom and gloom. There's part of the base is going to be the fun-loving folks like us, the hobby friends, if you will, the ones that just love kind of just gabbing it up and showing off our collections. There's a piece of that as well. That's the hopeful side of me talking, but I think there is how much of it remains to be seen. But I think there are certainly new collectors coming in, or even those quiet collectors that stopped for a long time. And again, the mainstream press has just brought them back. So good stuff, guys. Another good question here from Josh, going back to the AI piece on the grading. Once AI becomes a standard, are we going to have to resubmit human graded stuff because people won't trust the human grade? Josh, excellent question. I don't know if there's an element of sarcasm to that, but I think
found it if there is, but yeah, it's a good question.
It is. I think perhaps I think that maybe people will gravitate toward the AI. A simple yes on my part. Brandon, what's your take?
Yeah, no, you could totally see resubmissions going through the roof. I could absolutely see that, because anybody that feels like they've ever been screwed by a grading company is going to go, now's my chance. Now's my chance to even the score. I knew this was a 9 when I sent it in, and the jerks gave me a 7. So screw them. Yeah. I'm gonna break even. I'm gonna get even.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see any human 10s being resubmitted, though.
No. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Especially
some of the early PSA grades. I had a 77 tops Robin Yount that was graded mint 9, early PSA, and there's a corner crease.
Oh, man.
It's like, yeah, this is mint 9. Yeah, if I were to send this in today,
that was the third shift on a Sunday.
Exactly. Spin the wheel. All right, 9.
Yeah, that's a great point too. I mean, I think we've all on this call, in this group here, and everybody chiming in the comments, we've all been the victim of what I would like to call a WTF moment when we opened that beautiful brown box that says Newport Beach on it, and we're like like a kid in a candy store, and now we're like, awesome. What? How'd this get a 6? You're sitting there. This had to be at least an 8 or a 9, and you're sitting there like staring at the card, grabbing your lights and looking at it. Like, did I miss something here? But to your point, the AI element would probably amplify a lot of the not the reholders. I'm sorry, the resubmissions, right? The reviews. Excuse me. So. Great stuff here, guys. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, that's funny. LOL. Some software looking at my 91 Donruss. Is there some Geneva Convention for cruel and unusual punishment for computers? Oh, that's funny. That was funny. All right, so let's see.
I would definitely try to break that computer with garbage.
Hey guys, I have to step away.
No worries. I know we kind of went past time here. Aarron, do you have a couple more minutes for a couple questions here, or?
Yeah, I can hang around a little bit. Yeah, Mike.
All right, sounds good. Brandon, thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Sounds great. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right.
Hey, Brandon.
All right, so we got a couple more questions here, guys, and then we'll call it a night. Let's see what we have here. How much is for hate the thought of AI as much as David hates the PSA issue? Josh, you hate him too. Don't start now, Josh. That's funny, but yeah, I don't know how much they would like it because I'll leave it there.
Mike had a good point though. Is like the grading companies would love those resubmissions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
They roll out a new technology and all of a sudden people are flooding them back with, re-reviews or whatever. And
yeah,
money in their pocket, but then a backlog too. So you can't really win.
I think you're right. I think they would be happy with getting their cards right back, get people paying some $20 submission fees and getting it graded again. So, I agree with that. That it's more money in their pocket for the same exact cards they already graded. So, on Reggie sets, I got PSA to create a Roberto Alomar superset based on my collection. Today, there are 6 members in the superset. It's great to see so many people join a Reggie set thread. Yeah, that's great, and that's a testament to what we were talking about earlier, and an important piece that I feel like has been overlooked this week. Which is the registry set. It's going to be harder to build these sets as a result. I know that ultra passionate might, that has enough disposable income would still, put it out there. But I think you're taking certain folks that would want to be playing and having fun in this game of set registries, and you kind of made it that much harder for them to continue that process. So,
whether you use a registry set unto the completion of that set, the really important part of it is, like with that Alomar set, is to just set a standard out there. With that Alomar set, he created something that other collectors wanted to strive towards, and people can get that checklist. They can go after the completion of that set, whether they're on the registry set website or not. That's a really important function of the PSA registry. And
yeah, agreed.
For a lot of reasons, I'll still stand by the registry, while I won't stand by some of the other decisions that PSA has made.
Yeah, no, agreed. Billy, thanks for joining in here, and thanks for your comments. I just put I see a couple in here, but large portion of people who have been buying wax at BBC hold a lot of it in an open for stuff pre-86, the late 80s, early 90s. You're right though. They open to relive some memories. Yeah, not shocked by that. And I think a lot of it is, there's that financial pass-fail line too, I think, with some people opening up boxes too, along with reliving their youth. So I think it's a combination of the two, but definitely late 80s, early 90s still fits the mold of fun ripping material. And I speak personally, and I think probably for you too, right, Aarron?
Yeah, it's guilt-free ripping for a lot of that stuff. And then yet it can connect you to a time and place, just as well as like a higher end release might.
So there's a good conversation here between Billy and Josh, just sharing it. I think a lot of the late 80s and early 90s gets open. Most stuff 86 and prior, though, it is so. Will this go up in value? What type of buyers? They openly say they're keeping it sealed. Yeah, interesting and good insight here. And I agree with Josh. I'm glad it's not all getting ripped. You know, that's important. I'm a quiet collector. I'm not sure of what item you're talking about in particular. Is it 88 tops big, Mike? Because I'm not a quiet collector of that. I've been open about how much I have of that. It's my go-to. Like I had a few beers, you know, ripping product. Oh man. I think people will for sure resubmit stuff. Hell, people resubmit just to get the most updated slab labels because like it more and pay extra bit. Yeah, you know what? I'm guilty as charged. On some of the first gen slabs, there was a one or two generations of slabs where for some reason the sticker was just getting wrinkled and warped in there and it just looked god awful. It was when they started hitting like the twos, you know, the late ones into the twos on the serial numbers. And that generation of slab was god awful. And anytime I had a keeper PC card, I sent it in, spent at the time, I don't know what it is now, $8 to reholder that card. So, you know, I'm not sure what it is now, but
you reholdered it for a more updated case specifically, or for a more updated label? Or both?
No, you know, I didn't crack it. I literally sent the old one in and just said reholder it. So I would get the same serial number, but I would get the new the Lighthouse label, you know, but with the same exact serial number. That I've done. I haven't done the change of serial number.
So it was more label oriented, and you wanted to convey to yourself to other people that, you know, this grade as it is for this card still carries weight, kind of deal.
It was more like the aesthetics of it, Aarron. I think I was like, you know, the one or two examples in particular were very high end cards. You know, a mantle that I had, and another high end card I had that it just looked god awful. It almost looked like it might have been tampered with, which I know it wasn't. Right? It was a self sub, you know, and but it just looked bad. And I was like, so I would send it back to PSA and just say, give me the Lighthouse holder. It was $8, you know, and if it's a card that was worth $1,000, I was like, all right, I'll do it. You know, but in this case, it was I wanted the more aesthetically pleasing, and that was personal preference, obviously.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
So all right, we'll do a last round here, Aarron. Just a couple more here coming in. How do we think AI will go beyond corners and centering? Surface flaws must be hard with AI. Mixed success between AI and human grading, the best solution. It's a good question. I mean, maybe they'll have to do some sort of a hybrid, right? Depending on vintage, and some leniency, that I think that's going to have to happen with some of the tougher issues. I know that they're maybe not 10s, right? But on the 8s and 9s on some of the tougher issue cards and rookies, they've been a little bit more lenient because they just know how truly hard, let's say a 79 O-Pee-Chee Ozzie Smith comes to mind for me. You might see the Topps version of that get a 7, but the O-Pee-Chee might have gotten an 8, and it's a very similar looking card. But I think that 1 point variable might have played in on the degree of difficulty that it is to get that O-Pee-Chee anywhere near nicely centered. So, Aarron, what's your take on that?
I don't know. I'm trying to get a sense of the question, but I think, you know, there's always going to need to be a human element in the AI portion of the grading. Is that anywhere where we're getting at here with this question?
I think it just means to say, like, you know, yeah, is there, you know, because of the potential margin of error on certain issues. I mean, that's how I took it anyway. That will they create like, you know, maybe some issues where it'd be like AI and human grading only, or a mix of the two to kind of minimize margin of error.
I think if you were to roll something out like that and you got the technology, you know, reliable enough, I think you just roll out the AI and you continually check it, you know, with the human against the human factor, you know, have humans engaged in the entire process, because, you know, for certain stuff like O-Pee-Chee rough cuts, AI is going to just obliterate the grade for that stuff, but the human element is going to acknowledge the fact that this is factory rough cut, and there's going to
Yeah.
be certain allowances there, and so there's always going to be a need for the human factor, with the exception of ultra modern.
Yeah, agreed. I think that it'll really thrive, the AI and like ultra modern, like you were mentioning earlier. I think if you take that element of the business and just kind of run them through the machines, given that card stock and given like just the way those products are produced, I think you alleviate the need, the graders that need to actually look at the cards, and maybe just the vintage and the much older stuff. So Josh, I like the junk era because it was the last time a kid on an allowance could conceivably make a complete set of all. Yeah, Josh, totally agree with that. As I was alluding to earlier, it's a fun product to put together a set for sure, and it was on a budget as a kid. I would skip some lunches at times at school to keep my lunch money to buy the packs. More packs to finish sets. I remember doing that as a kid. I don't know if you did, Aaron.
For sure.
The candy money was going right to cards, and the bubble gum was just the little bonus.
And like Josh said, the junk era kids were perhaps the last era, where the hobby was very much, a child's pursuit. Not that adults didn't get involved, but kids were prevalent collectors during that era.
Yeah.
And I think that's something for vintage collectors to perhaps keep in mind, particularly vintage unopened collectors. When you're tempted to say things like, regarding certain companies' price increases, when you're tempted to say things like, well, maybe people will stop submitting junk now. These people collecting junk grew up in a time where, we were doing just as you were. We were collecting cards. We were swapping with our friends. We were saving up our allowance to go to the grocery store with mom and dad and pick out, a pack of cards. We're the flip side of the same coin. So
yeah.
Yeah,
no, well said. I totally agree. Mike has a rather funny question here, changing gears a bit. Does anybody know the next manager card is going to skyrocket seeing Don Zimmer? I'm not well versed on this. I did see a post about, I think it was 91 Tops, or Don Zimmer's big old mug was on like this ultra close-up picture. Did you see that?
Was he mean? I didn't. Was he mean mugging or something?
It was just like that extreme close-up picture, and he's just got that big old face on the card, and that's all you see. And for some reason, that card's worth like, I don't know, $10 now or something.
Did his cheeks go over the border of the card like the Mark Whitten error?
Oh, that's crazy. Imagine a die cut of that card. Oh, too funny. Oh, man. So if they did have a manager card that I would like, by the way, Mike, I would like to see a Billy Martin like screaming in the umpire's face card, but I don't think that exists. CPA Mike with the advertisement disclaimer of the day. Thank you for, and I hope you do this every episode. We don't condone ripping unopened boxes. Oh, that's too funny. Is that why you don't watch the RVP rips on Thursday, Mike? I can't stand the pain of watching Kurt pronounce French dudes' names. Totally agree. There are a lot of labels that look warped, and the values noticeably lower on sales. Yeah, Chad. Again, I think there was a whole generation of cards. I think it's that late 1s to like mid 2 serial number series. That generation flip was god awful. So. Again, I don't know what the reholdering prices are now, but at the time when I was doing them, it was like $8. Well worth it for some of my cards for PC. So, just doing a last round here, buddy. All right. I think looks like we're kind of done with the questions here, guys. I want to thank Aaron and thank also Brandon for joining in. Aaron, it's always awesome talking with you, buddy. And
yeah, easy, man.
I love the passion you have for the junk wax era, and
sometimes it gets the better of me, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, no, that's what this is all about. So thanks again for bringing some great insight to the conversation, and I hope to have you on again soon, bud.
Yeah, thanks as always for collecting your thoughts on this and bringing it forth in a manner that benefits us all.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk soon, guys, and be on the lookout. In the 2 weeks, we'll do another live episode, and we'll have some episodes coming up soon. So thanks again, and have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, buddy.